Hello, this is Ed and
Chris.
yep, and this is the Konect, the parenting journey.
We met in Australia, surprisingly. A lot of people think we met at home, but home in Kenya, but we met here as students. Yeah, then went back home to get married.
Someone set us up.
Yeah. But we won't go into that. That's not why we are here. But anyway, yeah, that's what happened. And yeah, how many years later? How many years have we been married for?
Look, the true story is that we met the second day after I arrived in Melbourne. It was September. It was spring. It was the first day of the opening ceremony of the Olympics.
Sydney Olympics, yes.
Olympics Summer Games.
Yeah.
It was a Friday morning, and the following day, Saturday, I met Chris and a couple of friends at Pastor Sam's house. So that's where we met for the first time. And then after that...
In the year 2000.
Yeah. Then after that, we kept in touch. Chris's mom flew over for Christine's graduation. And God had blessed me with a small car, which, you know, when you have a car as a guy, you're hot property. So, so pretty much that is what we used Christine's mom from the airport. And since I had no much use for the car anyway, Christine and mom would use it to, take it, go shopping, or if there's something they need to do, I would drop the car at her place, and they would use it, then pick it up on Friday night, and be blessed with a nice Kenyan home-cooked meal by Christine's mom. And so our journey kind of,
evolved that way.
There. So we used to be part of really just hang out as a group of friends for a number of months. And then on Valentine's Day 2001, I think that was the first time we
had a date.
On a date. We went out to watch a movie.
An outdoor movie, actually.
Movie in Botanic Gardens.
Botanic Gardens, yeah.
What is it called? Moon?
I can't remember what it's called.
Is it called like Moonshine or something like that?
That's a long time ago. I can't remember what it's called.
So, took her out, watched a movie, we walked around the city, got her back home. So, and
the rest is history.
Yeah, so organically our relationship just developed from there. I think for me...
Not long after we were married, I mean, we had established before we got married that, I mean, we wanted to have children. I think for us it wasn't, it was just something we both wanted, so there was no issues there. We had decided we wanted a family. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, whilst I knew that and we, as Christian says, we had, known that we were going to have kids. For me, I think it took a bit of time to crystallize what that looks like. And I don't know, maybe it's me or maybe there are other men out there. But for me, there was a point where I just could not see myself as a father. I just felt that I was under-resourced to be a father. And I thought about it. When I would process that, I would think about the responsibilities that come with that, and at some point that looked quite overwhelming. So we continued having those conversations, those discussions, and there were other things that were happening in the background as well. So we were students, overseas students. Our visa status was not confirmed yet. So there are all those things festering in the background, those unknowns, especially when you're a temporary migrant. So you're kind of weighing, should I not? And then there's the overwhelming conversations about the cost of bringing up kids in Australia, which, that kind of information can be quite overwhelming. So for me, it was kind of a process of crystallizing that in my mind. And then in 2000 I remember we had just moved out of the house we were in. We moved to Clayton.
Yeah.
And that was in
We moved in December 2005. We moved into that house, yes. And I found out I was pregnant just before we moved, because Jabu was born in 2006 July. So but by then we'd just become permanent residents. So but I think for me, I had always known I wanted to be a mother. So all these other things were just details that I guess would need to be worked around. Because I mean, people become moms in all types of situations, so it's there's no set way of saying you have to have done this or you need to have this. It happens in a lot of different situations, and I think it's just if I speak on behalf of women who have become mothers, it's just about the desire to have children and to raise your own children in whatever circumstances you find yourself in. So that didn't bother me as much. Our status was not too much of an issue to me at the time.
But it also kind of morphs out of the idea of also becoming a husband, because that is even before getting kids. The other aspect of it is becoming a husband and getting a wife. Now that was also a process, and for me, the thing that tipped me across the line was a conversation I had with a very close friend of mine, who is currently a scientist with CSIRO, which is the government research arm. And he had studied overseas. He was an international student for many years in Europe and in Australia. And so he had a wide experience of what it means to be an overseas student. And he was a brother in the Lord as well. And so he looked at me and he looked at Christine, and we had this very personal conversation where he was very encouraging, and he said, "Oh, look, just tell me what it is that you're reserved about in committing to this relationship and getting married to Christine." And so we had that similar conversation again, like Christine said, those details, those that can kind of cloud your judgment, and he actually spoke to my life, and he said, "Look, did my first degree, he did his master's, he did his PhD, he finished, he got a good job, and he still was in this space of trying to make a decision about a lifelong commitment." And he just looked at me and he said, "Look, if I were in your position, knowing what I know now, there's nothing to stop you from committing into this relationship and becoming Christian husband, and I would like you to consider that." And that was a powerful eye-opener into that whole world of becoming a husband, and then obviously leading into becoming a dad, and Christine becoming a mother, which she has been a wonderful mother for the last 15 years plus.
I first discovered, I was like, wow. I mean, and then obviously you start working through your mind about, obviously there's the responsibilities. I mean, obviously deep down I wanted it, I was happy, but then there was the other side that was thinking about the reality of becoming a mother and the changes obviously that happen first and foremost with your body, the changes that happen as you prepare to have this child who you're going to raise and look after. And so it was, it was a happy time and a good time, but also there's always the thought of, oh goodness, I mean, nobody's ever read, there's no parenting manual that has ever been written. So everything somehow you bring to it is what you've seen, what you've had, what you've learned, even as your parents have brought you up. So, and look, just literally by the grace of God. And I think for us, just reminding ourselves that this child and whichever other children we're going to get, these are gifts, and we really do not need to know everything about parenting. It's a step at a time. A step at a time, because if you waited to know everything before you decided to have children, people would never have them, because that is just not practical. So yeah, it was an interesting journey. And obviously, as the baby grew, the pregnancy developed, yes, there's the tiredness, there's the physical exhaustion, but it was, I mean, looking back now, it was a good journey. It was a good journey.
For me, I can tell you, I didn't have any of those symptoms. I didn't throw up. I didn't.
I didn't throw up as well. I didn't throw
up. So I know that it's said that there's some men who have
the psychological
the similar
symptoms.
Experience. For whatever reason. But in saying so, in leading to us having a baby, there's a background story there that I think it's also important for us to share, because I think that there are many people out there who probably are in the same space. And this is what Christine is talking about, the desire to be a mother. And you're not able to conceive a baby. Now, that is a space that probably a lot of people don't get to speak into how that looks like. For us, we had the privilege and opportunity of looking after other people's kids. So even whilst we did not have our own kids, we used to go for sleepovers, we'd look after some kids. Most of them are adults now. So there was that desire. And then we had friends who were having kids, people who we got married at the same time. So there was quite a number of people. And there was always this background discussion about, why are you not having kids? Now, and it was made in a very, how do you call it?
It wasn't a direct, it was very subtle. It's nothing, it's kind of like, oh, so when are you people going to
have kids?
Have your own kids? When will you be ready to have your kids? Oh, yeah.
And all these are the flowers of the house. And all this stuff.
You know how we talk like at home, how people ask questions in a very, not very straight way.
But
so it was something,
but I do remember, I think, Christine went for a check, and there was a situation, maybe Chris, you can speak about that, when we were unsure whether we could have a baby.
It just took a really long time to conceive, so to a point where we had to have checkups and make sure that everything is okay. And we just thought, you know what, finally, look, and for us it was a prayer issue. It was a prayer issue, and we thought, look, if this doesn't happen, then there's always the plan B, adoption part. But it never came to that, because when I had gone for one of my checks, the last checks, I was going for the specialist, after everything, looking at the results, I was telling me, she told me it's very interesting, because from what we can see, your typically infertile, but we can also see that you're pregnant at the same time. So it was also a paradox to her, and obviously that became our firstborn. And so basically it is a miracle, really, that we do have children.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
So it was a struggle for us in that space. It was a struggle, and I think for any man or woman or wanting to be parents, it's very hard to articulate that struggle or that pain of going through that particular process, because there's this overwhelming pressure around your peers that you need to have had kids like tomorrow. But again, you're not in, there's that space of being open to the people around you and say, hey, you know,
this is what is happening at the
through this process. That space was not there. And so we just kept it to ourselves. In fact, you know, rarely do we talk about it. We do mention it every now and again.
Yeah.
But that is something that I would really like to encourage other people who are in that space to probably find someone, and it's very difficult sometimes, who they can journey together in that particular, because it is very difficult. In terms of your own emotional well-being, it is important to be able to have those conversations with someone. And it could be even a doctor, it could be someone, you know, your local GP, or it could be a close friend, but it's important to be able to really articulate how you're feeling around that. Because the reality is, like Kristen said, we, you know, at some point we had conversations about adoption. How do we go around adoption? And there are many hurdles, especially in the environment that we live in, to actually adopt a kid. And so there was, so we had all these ideas, but we just trusted God that one day we'll have our own. And you know, when we knew that our firstborn was on the way, we were very excited about that.
Oh, the firstborn comes along, there's just a lot of excitement.
We were going to be the perfect parents.
So we thought. That's always the plan, Peter. We are not doing too badly. No, nobody is perfect. I think it's about doing the best that you can do with what you know. So if you know there is something you need to do, it's about, I guess, making sure that you do that in the best interest of the child. So this whole perfection thing, or being a perfect parent, that is a myth. That just does not exist at all. So, and yeah, we tell our kids, yeah, we are not perfect parents. We make mistakes, and you have to apologize to your children sometimes. And yeah, it's a journey. It's a day-by-day, step-by-step journey of, and I think it's about growing. You grow together with them, because as they grow, you're also growing and learning. And having so we had the firstborn, and it was an interesting journey, because I think he literally took over our lives, because we were like, oh, you need to do this, we need to do this, this can't happen, we have to make sure. And it's a bit intense with the first child. So when Tamin came along, it was a bit different. We knew that it's okay even if she does this, even if we let her crawl and touch whatever it is, so long as it's nothing harmful. You stop becoming as overbearing, I think, as you are, as you are with the first one. Because I remember when Jabu was born, every night when Edward came from work, he would sit on the couch nearest to the heater, because Jabu was born in July. So August, September was quite cool. So he'd sit there and he would not move, and then he would have Jabu here on his chest. And I'm thinking, oh, this cannot be a good thing long term, because now this kid, he got used to falling asleep there, and he just wanted to be held 100% of the time. And so you learn a few things as you go along. And so it became very problematic when Tamin was born, because then Jabu was still being put to sleep by being put on Edward's shoulders, and he did not want to have it any other way. So yeah, you learn, you grow, you move on, and yeah. But it was I think all up it was good. It was I found it exciting, a bit tiring, but it was good, given the fact that we were not sure whether we'd have any children at all. So it was a good surprise.
Yeah, I think for me, seeing the baby and being discharged from the hospital, going home, it was a surreal moment. And for a long time, I kept on looking at this child. Every morning I would wake up and look at this child and thinking, is this my baby? And even after my paternal leave came to an end, and I had to go back to work. Every morning before I left the house, I had to look at the baby and think, oh wow, I'm leaving my baby at home. And it is surreal, it's overwhelming, it's exciting, it is joyous. Again, it's not a feeling that you can really put into words to describe how that feels. But it's I mean, my son, he's got a lovely heart. He's been a blessing to us. And when we see him, we see the goodness of God in our lives, and that's partly why we actually named him Jabulani. Just rejoicing in celebrating the goodness of God, and also having that connection between where we've come from in Africa and back here in Australia. So for me, it was an overwhelming experience. It was a joyous experience. It was a surreal moment, and I could not for many months. I could just not wrap my head around the fact that God has blessed us with this bundle of joy, and we are responsible for this particular child. But it was such a joy everywhere we went with him, anywhere we took him. It was such a joy, and when the baby was there, and obviously Christine did a lot of hard work because she was at home with the baby and looking after him. For me, I always looked forward to going back home, and I looked forward to Friday when work is over and we have Saturday, Sunday, spending that time with friends. And we the other part of it, which I think was a blessing to us, is we had a core group of friends who are very supportive to us, right from the day the baby was born, and if some of those friends, we still have them even now. Baby clothes, nappies, baby clothes. We never bought baby clothes for a long time. So there were these blessings that we did not anticipate that came with the baby. And so the burden of thinking about the finances was kind of really overtaken by the fact that we had supportive friends, we had people who looked after us, we had people who cooked for Christine. Christine's mom was such a blessing because she sacrificed a lot to come and spend 6 months, 3 months?
She was here for 3, but she came soon after. Yeah, she came again before long.
Yeah, and just care for us and look after Christine and be of support. And that is something we can, we're always grateful for. Just that support of mom and the friends around. That was quite overwhelming.
I think initially what happens, I think, even as we were expecting the baby, and as the baby comes, obviously you get to hear a lot of things, and you get a lot of free advice from all sorts of people, and who tell you about the difficulties. And it's not easy, because the support network you have here, you do have friends, and people do the best that they can. And like, even when friends have gotten babies, you go and see the babies, you take this, you can every now and again cook for the mother, but it's not the same as having a baby at home, where you have help every day. Day in, day out, you have somebody helping you. Maybe you have your siblings around, you have aunties and uncles, parents. So obviously you do not have that. And so you, everything that needs to be done is for that baby is up to the parents. And it's a hard gig, because obviously you're working. Edward was working initially, and at some point I went back to work. So everything that the baby needs, anything that has to be done, and you can't always look for babysitters. There's this challenge of sometimes you go, no, I'll go next time, I'll go, you do this, you do that, or if we can take the baby with us, we'll take the baby with us. But I think the good thing with that is you really get to bond with that child, because you're doing everything for them. I remember when we went back home for the first time after Jabu was born, he was 16 months, and I had friends and relatives who obviously saw him then. And obviously one of the first questions they ask you is that, oh, so who helps you look after this child? And I'm like, we are it. There's nobody doing that for you. So I think the physical part of that is quite challenging, but it has a great, if I can call it a payoff. Yeah, I find it has a lot of benefits. Yeah.
So for me, I think one of, and I think Kristen has articulated very well the challenges of listening to free advice, and a lot of information about the difficulties and the costs of raising a child here. And whilst that is true in many ways, the financial challenge of raising up kids is quite huge. There's no doubt about that. The fact that you are raising a child, just the two of you, being so far away from home, your parents are not there, your brothers and sisters are not there, the environment you're used to, where you can hire someone to come and do the cleaning, do the cooking, do the washing, that is not there. So you have to literally set up a system within your household that actually functions, and that creates the atmosphere that you want to create. So I think that was a challenge that we had to push through, and I think Christine was very good in bringing that into place. So a good example was Sunday morning we needed to go to church, and I think for us,
and we used to go quite early.
Yeah,
we used to go quite early.
And I think for us, going to church was not an option. We had to go to church. So Christine worked out very quickly that we had to have a system where you wake up at 6.
I used to wake up quite early.
Wake up at 6. She gets ready. Then 7. Everybody gets ready. We get the baby.
And anything the baby needs to consume, just have the baby's bags packed.
That's correct.
Have enough of everything. Load the things into the car, so that at no point will you run out of anything.
Yeah.
And
then at 8 o'clock on the dot, we are on the car.
We are on the way. Yeah, we are on the way to church, and
we make it to church at by 9 o'clock. We're there for the morning service, and then be there for 2 hours. And the other thing
go out, have lunch. times, a lot of times, used to go out for lunch
Yeah,
after
we
that,
go out
and
for
then
lunch,
and then come home.
and then go back
Come
home.
home, yeah.
So it was just having that system that really supports how you function as a family. So that is something we needed to work out. In terms of finances, I don't think we thought too much about that.
No.
We as long as we had a roof over our head, we had
And we had food.
we had food,
Yep.
and we could move from point A to point B. That other part was not insignificant, but it's not something that we,
Lost sleep over.
labored over
Yep.
day out. We just trusted God, trusted God to be able to go through that season, and it was a fairly long one between when the baby came and when Christine went back to work, so that we can at least have a second income. And even then it was quite challenging for us, because for you to be able to go to work, we had to get someone to come home to look after the baby, and that person had to be paid from our wages, so that we could have someone that we trusted look after the baby, and we had to be back home at exactly a particular time, because she
Every
needed
day.
to leave and go and do her own thing. So those are some of the I would say the challenges, especially when you're in diaspora. Those are the challenges that you have to face, and the realities of not having your relatives around to look after you and to be able to offer you that support.
But it works out. It works out, and you look back and you find, the kids have grown, and so it's been good. A steep learning curve, but it was really, really good.
Yeah, but I think the other thing for us was, and especially going to church, because I cannot remember, I don't know whether you remember, but I cannot remember, there were few people fine between. For example, we had a family in Point Cook, in the western suburbs, who had kids. And apart from that family, I don't think we knew of many other families that were in a similar position at that time to us. For a couple of months, I don't think.
Not maybe for the first 2 months, but after that, a lot of kids around Jabu's age
were
born. And
but I remember, I think the thing that was such a comfort and a blessing for us was going to church and kind of having this group of parents who have kids kind of born at the same time, and whilst you're half listening to the sermon, you're also looking after each other's kids as they haggle over toys, and kids and the parents encouraging kids to share the toys, and parents used to sit at the back of a church. But it's also really listening to their stories, and you kind of realize you're not unique. It's the same challenges that every other parent is going through, whether they have parents close by or whether you have parents far away. You're kind of going through the same journey, and I think that was just a comfort for us to know that we are not alone.
Yeah.